Some are born to malevolence, others have it thrust upon them. In the world of the Blacklist, Raymond Reddington is the apex predator, a man who lives by a severe code of his own making and enforces it without exception. This isn't the simple law of the jungle. It's a meticulously crafted philosophy born from a life where trust is the most valuable and volatile commodity. The cardinal rule, etched in the stone of his very identity, is absolute. You do not betray Raymond Reddington. But when that line is crossed, his reaction isn't merely about getting even. It is never just business. It's a profound and visceral response to a wound that never heals, a psychological injury that defies closure. To understand him is to understand that he doesn't choose not to forgive. The capacity for forgiveness was cauterized long ago, a casualty of a past he can neither escape nor fully remember. The original Raymond Reddington is a ghost, a name on a tombstone. The man who assumed his identity had the capacity for mercy surgically removed by trauma. Therapy might help most people navigate their pain, but in Reddington's world, therapists have a habit of ending up on his blacklist, their professional insights silenced by his personal doctrine. Here's why that matters to you. Red is a thriller-sized operatic version of something ordinary people do every day. We get hurt. The pain of betrayal leaves an emotional and even physical imprint. We make rules, sometimes unconsciously, to ensure we are never hurt that way again. And then we enforce those rules with our partners, our children, our parents, our friends, until the desperate need for connection becomes collateral damage in our war against vulnerability. Reddington's story is a cautionary tale written in large, bloody letters. So what is the one line that can never be uncrossed with him? It isn't theft, opposition, or even violence. Many have opposed him and lived to negotiate another day. The unforgivable sin is the betrayal of trust. Reddington doesn't just hold grudges. He curates them, preserving them like priceless, poisoned artifacts. Most assume that's a simple requirement of his criminal profession, a pragmatic tool for maintaining order. The truth is far more tragic and far more familiar. By the end of this, you'll see the intricate architecture that makes forgiveness feel impossible for him, and you may recognize the scaled-down version at home. A friend who repeats a secret you shared in confidence, a partner who lies to keep the peace, a parent who breaks a sacred promise, a boss who lets you take the fall for their mistake. Your nervous system doesn't grade on a curve. It doesn't distinguish between a lie about your whereabouts and a lie that dismantles an empire. It hears only one binary question: safe or not safe? As we analyze Red's psyche, quietly ask yourself, where have I started living by a rule that once protected me and now isolates me? The day everything went wrong. One catastrophic night recalibrated his entire being. For the man who would become Reddington, betrayal became synonymous with existential threat. His origin story is not a triumphant moment of self-creation, but a house engulfed in flames, a terrifying collage of fractured memories, of fire, shouting, a gunshot, and the terrible choice a young girl named Masha was forced to make. This is the nexus of his pain, a memory so traumatic it's unclear if it's his own or one he carries for someone else, a constant echo of loss and violence. Trauma doesn't just leave a scar, it rewires perception. The brain, in its effort to protect itself, shifts into a state of hypervigilance. Trust, once a natural social instinct, becomes a scarce and dangerous resource. The world ceases to be a fundamentally safe place with pockets of danger and morphs into a hostile landscape of imminent threat with fleeting pockets of safety. Before he was Raymond Reddington, he witnessed a foundational horror that taught him the most brutal lesson. Loyalty is not a virtue. It's the sole currency of survival. He built an empire not merely to win or to accumulate wealth, but to control every variable that could ever hurt him again. Power became his armor against the ghosts of that fiery night. Most of us have our own version of that night, a moment when our world burned down. It might be the breakup that hollowed you out and left you questioning your own judgment. It might be the explosive family argument that shattered your sense of belonging. It might be the public humiliation at work that made you feel disposable. After it was over, you made a quiet, private vow. Never again. You would never be that vulnerable, that trusting, that naive again. Sometimes that vow is wisdom, the beginning of healthy boundary setting. But sometimes it's the first brick in a wall that will eventually entomb you. Suddenly, a delayed text message from a partner doesn't feel like a distraction. It feels like a threat. You start pre-breaking up with people in your mind so you can't be left first. You become a detective in your own relationships, searching for clues of disloyalty instead of evidence of love. Forgiveness, in that world, isn't about forgetting what happened. It's the terrifying, courageous act of choosing not to let last year's fire write tomorrow's script. Think of your house on fire moment. What rule did you quietly adopt that day? Has it truly kept you safe? Or has it just kept you lonely? A pattern of ruptures. Red's gallery of betrayals mirrors 3 patterns you will recognize in the friction of ordinary life. His response is not a choice, but a reflex. When the sacred bond of trust breaks, he amputates the source of the infection. Watch the pattern in his world, and then watch for its echo in your own relationships. Mr. Kaplan, the protector's betrayal. Kate Kaplan isn't just his cleaner. She is his confessor, his historian, the one person who knows where all the bodies are buried because she buried them for him. She was bound to him by shared secrets and a deep, abiding loyalty that spanned decades. Her crime is not malice, but protection. She makes a unilateral decision to choose Liz's safety over Red's direct command, faking Liz's death to spirit her away from the violence that constantly surrounds him. To Red, this isn't a misguided act of love. It is the highest form of treason. His trust was absolute, and therefore, her transgression was absolute. He takes her to a desolate field, a place of quiet endings, and shoots her in the head. Her miraculous survival and subsequent war against him only serves to confirm his hardened rule. Betrayal is a contagion that must be utterly and completely eradicated. In real life, this is the partner who protects you from upsetting news by hiding it. The parent who lies for your own good. The friend who deletes a contentious text message from your phone to avoid drama. The intent was care. The impact was control. You were denied the right to your own reaction, your own decision. If you're on the receiving end of this, the path forward isn't silent resentment. It's naming both sides of the equation. I see that you were trying to protect me, and I also feel that it cost me my agency. Next time, please trust me with the truth before you act on my behalf. If you're the one who protects, you must ask yourself a difficult question. Am I truly reducing their harm, or am I just removing their agency to make myself feel more comfortable? Elizabeth Keene, the self-quest betrayal. He orbits Liz. His entire criminal empire, the very Blacklist itself, is constructed around her safety and his desperate need to be in her life. He kills for her, builds for her, burns worlds for her, and she still has him arrested, hoping the legal system can force out the secrets he refuses to share. Her betrayal is devastating because his love for her does not grant her immunity. It only complicates accountability. His admission to her afterward is the sound of a modern emotional stalemate. I can't kill you or trust you or forgive you. Translation. I love you more than anyone, but I don't feel safe with you and I don't know how to exist in that space. Many couples live there for years, half together, half at war, in a cold truce of shared history and present-day mistrust. This limbo is the weakest strategy for dealing with betrayal. It preserves the pain without offering a path to resolution. There are 2 stronger options. This is not about hoping things get better. It's about defining how. I want to try and rebuild trust. For the next 60 days, I need you to commit to A, B, and C. After that, we can reassess if we are moving forward or apart. This is the brave acknowledgement that love isn't always enough. I love you, and because I do, I see that we can't give each other what we need to feel safe. I am stepping back. Loving you doesn't require staying in a relationship that is hurting us both. Both paths are courageous. The unbrave path is staying, seething, and slowly poisoning the well of shared memories with passive punishment. Dembe Zuma, the withholding betrayal. Dembe is more than a bodyguard. He is Red's conscience, his brother, the one person whose loyalty was so foundational it was like the ground beneath Red's feet. When Dembe learns a secret about Liz and chooses to omit it to spare Red pain, the rupture is quiet but seismic. Initially, Red's response is not a gunshot in a field, but a cold, growing distance. The silence is the punishment. Later, after Liz's death, he articulates a form of forgiveness, not because he suddenly learned how, but because the all-consuming fire of grief softened the rigid edges of his code. The loss of Liz was so absolute that Dembe's lesser sin was put into perspective. In real life, withholding information is a common form of betrayal, often born from a fear of the other person's reaction. If you're the one who has been hurt by this, try approaching it with curiosity instead of accusation. When you held that back from me, the story I told myself was that I couldn't trust you. I can see you might have been trying to spare my feelings. For us to move forward, I need you to trust me with the truth, and I will commit to managing my own reaction. That doesn't erase the breach. It reopens the door with clear terms for engagement. If you're the withholder, accountability sounds like, I was afraid of how you would react, and I made a choice not to trust you with the truth. That was wrong. Here's how I will handle a situation like this differently next time. Personal bridge. Which of these betrayals have you lived? The protector, the self-quest, or the withholder? And more importantly, which side were you on? Why he can't let it go? Why is betrayal Red's absolute breaking point? Because his entire existence post-trauma is a fortress, an elaborately designed psychological structure built to prevent a recurrence of that original, catastrophic loss of control. Many of us build smaller versions of this fortress, cozier perhaps with better lighting but just as confining. For Red, the world is sorted into two simple categories: safe/unsafe, loyal/traitor. Ambiguity feels like an imminent danger. Nuance is a luxury he cannot afford. Once someone's actions trip the alarm and move them from the loyal column to the traitor column, his internal operating system insists on their immediate removal. We do this in our own lives, turning a disagreement into evidence of disloyalty or a mistake into a malicious attack. A gentler, more resilient move. Before you pass sentence, sleep on it. In the morning, list 3 verifiable facts about what happened. No mind reading, no assuming intent. Then, make one specific, actionable request that would help restore a sense of safety. Judge their response to your request, not your own worst-case narrative. He lost all control in the fire. He has worshipped at the altar of control ever since. He manages every detail, every person, every outcome. But control and closeness are inversely proportional. The more you manage and surveil others, the less truth they will bring you. People will tell you what they think you want to hear, or what will keep them safe from your reaction. Real security isn't about preventing failure. It's about creating a process you both agree on for when, not if, you inevitably fail each other. If I miss a check-in, I'll text you by noon the next day to explain. If I don't, we agree to pause our plans for that week. That's building safety without demanding surveillance. The blacklist is, at its core, a ledger of debts. Every name on it is a debt to be collected, and it always comes with interest. But in the landscape of love and friendship, justice rarely looks like revenge. It looks like repair, a clean and honest admission. I did X, and I know it hurt you. A Y that explains but does not excuse the behavior, and a period of visible, repeated, consistent action that earns back belief over time. If you can't get consistent repair from someone, you don't need bigger punishments. You need a cleaner exit. Red frequently calls himself a monster and then acts accordingly. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Psychologists call this identity foreclosure, a state where a person commits to an identity without exploring other options, often as a result of trauma or external pressure. We do the PG-13 version. I'm just a cold person. I'm unbothered. I never forget a slight. These labels feel like a shield. They also lock the door from the inside. Forgiveness isn't a luxury for naive, sentimental people. It's a pragmatic survival skill for dangerous worlds. It is the conscious decision to reclaim your own narrative, to keep your humanity when fear tells you to auction it off for the illusion of safety. Tonight, don't decide if you can forgive. Just observe. Tomorrow, Make one small, specific request that would make you feel 10% safer. If they meet it, note the data. If they can't or won't, note that data too. Clarity is always kinder than control. The sad price of never forgiving. The walls he built to keep his enemies out became the prison that kept everyone else out too. His life is a monument to this tragic irony. He wins the battles and loses the dinners. With Kaplan, his punitive rage destroys the cleanest, most loyal friendship he had. With Liz, his toxic cocktail of love and suspicion spirals into a vortex of grief from which neither can escape. Even with Dembe, the surest and most steadfast bond in his life frays under the strain of a code that leaves no room for human error. From a distance, the fortress of Reddington looks impressive, a testament to power and survival. Up close, it just sounds like silence. Refusing to even consider forgiveness is a subscription renewal for conflict. Kaplan's initial betrayal was an attempt to end the cycle of danger surrounding Liz. Red's violent response fueled a devastating war that exposed his entire empire. His punitive silence and inability to trust Liz after her own betrayals pushed her into making increasingly reckless and dangerous choices. Payback is not a single moment of victory. It's a full-time maintenance plan for misery, and that's the ultimate warning for the rest of us. If apologies don't land, if the hurtful behavior doesn't change, and if new boundaries are consistently violated, then ending unfond a relationship isn't an act of revenge. It's an act of emotional hygiene. You can love someone from the bottom of your heart and still choose to save yourself. You can choose oxygen. But if repair is possible, it will never be proven by grand speeches or tearful apologies. It will be demonstrated by small, boring, predictable consistency. The texts that are sent when promised, the secrets that are kept when asked, the plans that are adjusted without passive-aggressive punishment. Are you living in a fortress of your own making? The signs include keeping score more than you have conversations, feeling safest when you're least known, and interpreting honest questions as personal attacks. If that's you, don't try to bulldoze the walls overnight. Just try to open one door. Share one small worry before it festers into a full-blown accusation. Ask for one specific reassurance. Offer one piece of reassurance no one asked for. Trust is rebuilt with tiny, consistent deposits over time. It is destroyed by constant audits. Reddington's end is somber but poetically fitting. Alone in a field in Spain, weakened and bleeding, facing a bull. He defeated every human enemy who ever crossed him, but he could not outmaneuver the past he carried inside him. The bull, a symbol of raw, untamable power, represents the one force he could not control: nature and his own mortality. He hunted monsters for a living, only to find that the most dangerous one was living rent-free in his own chest. A life built on the bedrock of revenge, with no room for the structural integrity of forgiveness, doesn't prove strength. It merely preserves isolation. So the directive stands. Don't betray Reddington. The man who called himself Raymond Reddington was a grand, tragic, and masterful invention. Beneath the bespoke suits, the perfectly chosen wines, and the chillingly calm monologues was a soul permanently marked by a fire and a first betrayal. His unforgiving nature wasn't a criminal tactic. It was the bars of a prison he built for himself. He constructed an empire to control the world around him and never learned how to hold the wound inside him.